Pedro had determined how much it cost to feed an entire family and what that dollar amount was. So I went to my kids and I was like, hey, here's the situation. What do you guys think? And they're like, can we each support a family? And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to Getting Money Right, a show dedicated to helping you achieve financial freedom through education and inspiration, so you can be free to pursue your true life's purpose. We are your hosts, Leo Sabo and David Thompson. And on this episode, we're going to continue our conversation with Omer Redden, the author of Give and Grow Rich, Change Your Mind, Change Your Money. This is the second part of our conversation, so if you haven't listened to the first one, we encourage you to do that. All right, let's go ahead and get back into the conversation with Omer.
Okay, so you launch your book. You're working with Self-Publishing School, connecting, growing. You're learning these really great, effective tools to launch it and do well. So you finally launched it. What do you do next? Like, what's your next step? Hey, I've finally used, you said 6 to 9 months of research and time and energy and editing and tweaking and cover designs and planning and launch teams. What do you do next?
I celebrated the success of it, right?
Yes.
It felt so good to put in all that effort and then reap some rewards from it. But the thing that I was reflecting back on this the other day, the thing that happened after I published that book is I gave away the biggest thing I've ever given away.
Oh, wow.
And it was crazy. Like, I hadn't put that connection in place until I was like reviewing some old notes and just stumbled across it. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So if I can paint the picture for a second, I was working at this factory still, making less than $40K a year, raising a family, had 3 kids, just kind of like in a very difficult spot financially. But there was one morning at church, we kind of had like the church service, and then there was a potluck afterward, and people were sharing some stuff. And I heard this story of a single mom who was just like, Jesus had just gotten a hold of her, and she was trying to like climb out of the depth and get her feet back under her, and was experiencing that transition and that transformation, which was just incredible to watch. And she expressed the need for a car. And my wife and I were at a point where we really only needed one vehicle. And so we gave her our car. And It was such an incredible experience. Like, like she was just in tears and just so thankful. And my wife and I, our hearts couldn't have been more full. Like, it was just an awesome, awesome experience. And when that happened, it's like the whole thing just clicked. And I was like, yep, that's when you give and you grow rich.
That's amazing. And that gift, it dramatically changes her life. I mean, especially she's a single mom, and that gives her the ability to drive her kids to school, to the doctor's office, for her to drive to employment. I mean, that's one of those things a lot of people don't think about, that you get into that place of not having transportation and you've got kids and you're single, like you're not stuck, but you feel stuck, and it's a real tough place to get out of. And so the fact that y'all's generosity literally changed her life. And I can tell you, because Leo and I have both worked in car donation ministries where we've helped connect givers and receivers. And we've been the ones that helped receive vehicles in order to then identify people that needed them. And I can tell you that gift is a life changer, and it's absolutely amazing that story, writing this book, Give and Grow Rich, it culminated in one of your biggest gifts ever, and a life-changing gift. I'm interested, once you learn this lesson, and you said you already had kind of the work ethic, you already had the lifelong learner mentality. Some of these things were instilled to you incredibly well by your parents and by the community that you were in. But you learned this massive generosity and this focus on consistent giving by reading and learning from these really wealthy people who had wealthy mindsets. What happened in your life once you started giving more, once you became consistent? How did that affect you personally?
Yeah. After being challenged on it, after writing the book, after having that experience, it was one of those things where my wife and I were like, we just need to determine that percentage and go for it. And then what hit me was like, oh wow, as I increase in income, that percentage can increase, but even if it doesn't, the impact will be even greater, right? So um, we did increase the percentage, right? Like we've steadily increased it, but I think that was a huge like personal lesson of, oh wow, so if I make 40K a year and I give 10%, what can that do? If I make 50K a year and I give 15%, what can that do? If I make 75K a year and do 20%, what can that do? And then like just whole new worlds of possibilities start opening up for like what you could do through giving.
Yeah, that's really good. So I know you have a story about Thanksgiving. Would you share that?
Yeah, Thanksgiving. This year, I work with an incredible group of people, right? And so I've had the opportunity over the past going on 6 years now to work with some incredibly smart, incredibly talented, incredibly generous givers too.
Mm.
And one of the guys on the team, he had just moved back to his hometown, which was kind of a new experience for him. And he was talking to a couple of his mentor teachers, and they run a food drive effectively at Thanksgiving. And my friend who's on the team, he's like, man, I got so excited hearing what they're trying to do. And I know what we're capable of as a team. So he kind of like presented the opportunity to the team. And um, that power of community, right? Of power of like-minded people. Like we were able to triple the level of donations that they've ever had come in for that food
Wow.
drive.
Wow.
And like he wanted to feed his community, and we were able to help him do that. And so that was like a cool win corporate wide or whatever you want to call it, like as a community. But then like within my personal family, um, I talked to our Pedro was the guy's name, and Pedro had determined how much it costs to feed an entire family and what that dollar amount was. And so I went to my kids and I was like, hey, here's the situation. Like, what do you guys think? And they're like, can we each support a family? I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's do it. So we were each able to support a family in that gift. And like that was a dinner time kind of conversation with my family. And I was like, oh, this is starting to catch with my kids, right? Like this giver mentality. How can I improve other people's lives? What can I do with the resources I have to bless others? Like it just, yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've written a couple other books. Do you want to say something about those? I know those are also projects that you obviously care about. And so why don't you share a little bit about those?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share. I don't typically promote my books, so this kind of puts me in an interesting spot. Uh, the Give and Grow Rich book, that was huge. It was kind of like a life trajectory change for me. I also wrote the Life Doc book, the How to Succeed in Life Without Losing Your Faith, Family, and Friends, and that was a culmination of about 10 years of like self-reflection of building this document up. So, it's like in seminary, I had done some spiritual formations things and started to learn my spiritual gifts. And then I went into the workforce and I was starting to learn my skill sets. And then I was learning what mission and vision and values are. And as I was learning this stuff in the corporate world, I was like, why aren't people doing this on a personal level? Like, why don't we
Mm-hmm.
take these same concepts and paint a vision for our family? Why don't we have a mission for our personal, like individual being? Why don't we have core values that we share as a family? So that was a huge book um, to kind of like put a bow on top of 10 years of learning and reflecting and that sort of thing. Actually, later today, I have the opportunity to lead our team through some of those exercises
Oh,
rolling
that's
into
cool.
2021 planning. So we're gonna reflect on 2020. we're going to do the 70-year-old rocking chair exercise and cast out to the end of our lives and like reflect back on who did we become and who did we have an impact on and like what made up our life. And so that's a book that I'm pretty excited about. The How to Work from Home book was just a super practical book, right? Like I saw, okay, COVID hit. People need tips on how to work from home. I've worked from home for 5 years. I should share some lessons. And so that was just kind of that book. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun writing and sharing those lessons with other people.
That's really cool. So is there one piece of advice that you would give to our audience? You know, I'm looking at the books you've written. I'm on Amazon and I'm thinking, man, if anybody is wanting to just personally grow in the year 2021, each one of these is such a simple and incredible resource. Give and Grow Rich. And then looking at that life doc and all the tools and exercises and things that you go through, just personally planning out your life and thinking through your life at the same level that, like, this is what we do as an executive team in our organization. Let's talk about the future. Let's vision cast. Let's create a vision statement. I love all of these tips and tricks. Like, why would we not do that in our lives? So you've written all these great books. I love what you're doing. What's one kind of parting takeaway that you would give for our audience?
I mean, we've talked about it a ton, right? And the word is give. Start giving today and determine what that percentage is and just do it. Like, just make it a habit. Don't even see it. Like, make it automatic. Just let it go. And you will learn how to live on a percentage of your income, right? And a lot of people have this mentality of like, oh, well, whatever I get, I'm going to spend it. And then if I have any left over, I'm going to save it. And then if I have any left over after that, which is highly unlikely, but if I did, then I might invest it or I might give it. And it's like, no, flip that script. Give first, set a percentage. Invest, set a percentage. Save, set a percentage. And then you can live on the rest. And for a lot of people, you can live on 60% or less of your income and still live a very comfortable life.
Yeah, agreed. I've actually done that, so I know you can do it. So
absolutely. And I want to give one other piece of advice, which is sign up for what Leo and David are doing. Like, they know their stuff. They are just people full of honesty and integrity, and they love this topic and have a passion for it. So I think they're promoting like this 4 steps to purposeful living. I think that's what I heard in the Scarcity and Wealth Mindset podcast. Like, sign up for it, do it.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate that. Really, honestly, that's why we do it. It is a form of giving for us. This is something I know that you had mentioned before, which is that you wanted to share. It was one of the 5 things that motivated you to write the book, and it was that you wanted to share so that others would learn from your lessons. And this is something that I think every person that I've ever worked with that has that life transformation where the mindset shifts, their perspective on money changes, they go from a scarcity mindset to a wealthy mindset. And when that happens, we automatically just realize this is too good to hold in. It's too good to hold to ourselves. Like, we got to share it with others. So that's what David and I have done for many years. And we do this for that reason. We know what it's like to be in financial stress. We know what it's like to feel like, gosh, to have money in the bank but feel like you're poor. You know, it's crazy how we can wrap ourselves in the wrong thinking. And so I love that the journey that you've taken, Omer, has taken you to the same place I think anyone can go, which is a place where you're serving others, enjoying life, making decisions that are very good for you and your family and those you love. I mean, for you guys to make a shift from where you grew up, where you were, to move to Wyoming so that you can have a completely different kind of lifestyle. That's values that you want to honor and respect and uphold. And I respect that. I think that's something that fortunately we're in a country where we could still do that. And I think people should take that for granted because it is a gift. But I so appreciate the fact that, one, that you wrote these books, because I know they weren't just put together by somebody who was an expert in anything. You were learning, and then you thought, okay, I learned it, now I'm going to share it. And I know how it is, because I've been part of the self-publishing school family for about 3 years. I'm still struggling to finish my book. And I'll get it done someday, but I'm one of those people that just needs to get it just right before you can let it go. That's more of a problem that I need to work on. Not, but I appreciate that you pushed through. You wrote these books because it will help people. And what you guys do at Self Publishing School is help more people take what they've learned, take what they've what they learned sometimes through pain and difficulty, and then share with others so that those people can get encouragement, support, wisdom, direction, knowledge, whatever's necessary for them to succeed. So I do really appreciate that whole self-publishing family. I do believe they do it for the right reason. I've been around them long enough to tell you that and say it without any reservation. So I'm so grateful, man, that you took the time to be with us, because what we want to do is impart wisdom to those that are listening to this podcast and encourage them to take the same path. When you learn how to manage your money, it'll open up things in your life that you never thought possible. You'll see life in a totally different way. Your mindset will change, and so many other things will come into fruition in your life. Omer, thank you so much for being with us, man. We really, really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying those words as well. And it's true. It's so true, right? Like, I could not have imagined the life I have now 5 or 6 years ago, before this whole mentality shift.
Yeah.
And it does. It just sets you on a new trajectory. You see the world open up. You see completely new opportunities. And so I love what you guys are doing. Keep doing the good work. Keep sharing it with people.
Thank you so much. And I think that's the goal and the heart of, helping people to become financially free so they can live their true life's purpose, is setting that mindset shift to, hey, I should be living on purpose. There should be a plan. There should be somewhere that I'm going. And if we really think about it, there's something there inside of us that we want to be doing, that we're called to do. So I love that. I love this conversation. I hope that you've enjoyed listening to this episode of Getting Money Right. I highly encourage you to go to Amazon and type in Omer Redden, Omer, and then Redden is Redden, Omer Redden, and you can see all of his books. He's written multiple books. We highlighted 3 today specifically. We dug into Give and Grow Rich, which that mindset shift, it's something that Leo's personally experienced coming out of a communist country. It's something that I've personally experienced coming out of the Bible Belt, living in Dallas, Fort Worth. I had to have that shift from a middle income family. It's something that Omer's experienced coming from a lower to middle income family. So don't feel weird about it if you're not there. Like, understand, we learned this as we were going. That Life Doc book, again, it's on Amazon, and then How to Work from Home, and then several of his other writings and works. You can also check out his blog. And I think, Omer, did your daughter write a book that's on Amazon as well? I mean, talk about generational legacy. Did your daughter write something?
She did. Yeah,
Okay.
we just finished her book about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things we set out to do probably a year and a half ago, and then kind of got lost in the wind. And then we were working on getting our house ready to sell and all that.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of took a back burner. And then once we got here to Wyoming, I was like, you're right. You bugged me and I agree. Let's get this book done and we'll both feel better about it. And she's sharing it with her friends and reading it at school and that sort of stuff. It's a blast.
That's great. Well, you can follow Omer the Writer on Instagram. It's just Omer_the_writer, and follow his family, follow his writing, see what he's up to. As soon as we connected through Leo, that was one of the first things I did, was just go follow and see what he's working on. And I hope that you're enjoying this series as we've talked to business owners. We've dug into a wealth mindset shift from scarcity mindset to a wealthy mindset, not with a get rich quick scheme, not with a desire that wealth is the end goal, but simply that when we shift our mindset away from scarcity to a wealthy mindset, it opens up the world for us to give. It opens up the world for us to produce and create. It gives us this idea that there's something inside of us that we can create and give away from nothing. You can create, like this podcast didn't exist 3 years ago, and Leo and I sat down together and we built this podcast. And we've been able to put together 156 episodes of content to serve people. You have the ability to build. You have the ability to create. You have the ability to produce and serve others. So I hope you've enjoyed this series. I hope that you'll come check out leosabo.com. Head over and look up Omer Redden on Amazon and across the internet. And then come over to stewardship.pastors.com and spend some time with me as I help stewardship pastors and leaders in the church to share biblical principles on money. And probably the most important thing that I want to share at the end of this is just to remind you about our beta course that we're going to have at the beginning of 2021, where we're going to take people through we're going to pre-screen and take people through our financial course in advance of rolling it out to the public. And so we are screening and letting in a handful of people, a couple families, a couple individuals that we're going to work with over January and February. We're going to build the course, we're going to share it with people, but then we're going to tweak the course as we go through this beta together. So I hope that you would take a moment, fill out the Google form. There's a little survey. It's in the show notes. You can find it on our social media as well, and fill out that form. And that will give you the opportunity to basically apply for the beta course. And Leo and I are going to go through and pick a handful of families and individuals that will join us. There'll be a lot of hands-on relational stuff that Leo and I are going to do with that team. And you'll be a part of helping to tweak and edit the course to make it greater for other people throughout the year. So come check out the beta course with us. Well, we look forward to having you join us next time. So together,
we can keep getting money right.
And we've been able to put together 156 episodes of content to serve people. You have the ability to build. You have the ability to create. You have the ability to produce and serve others.